morning. For today's nonfiction read aloud, I have a book titled Spring. So before we get started, let's see if we can find all the ways that make this book nonfiction. So looking at the front cover, I see a real photograph. Let's see when I open it up. Oh, hello. Table of contents. Now this one doesn't say table of contents. It just says contents. But we see it's a table of contents. What else would give us some hints? Oh, I see something right here. Real photographs. I see some labels. Do you see the labels? And let's go to the end of the book. Up, I see a picture glossary and an index. Definitely a nonfiction text. Before we get started though, I want to talk a little bit about this picture glossary. There's two words I want to take a peek at. The first one is blossoms. Now I've drawn a tree, and I know it's not the greatest tree, but I've drawn a tree. A blossom is a flower that's on a tree. So here on my tree, I'm going to draw some flowers to let you know that blossoms are flowers on trees. And the next one is a bud, and a bud is a part of a plant. It's like the beginning of a flower or a beginning of the leaf. So it's just like little bitty beginning parts of a flower or little bitty beginning parts of a leaf. Let's look in the back at this picture glossary to get some real photographs. So here is a blossom, and as you can see, instead of leaves, this tree has flowers all over it. Those are blossoms. And down here are the buds, which is just the beginning part of a leaf or beginning part of the flower. They come out of a bud. They've got two more words, but I think you might know these. Pattern, happening in the same order, and seed. Plants make seeds, and seeds grow into new plants. So these are the words we're going to think about as we read this nonfiction text today. And it's not even about an animal. Not all nonfiction books are about animals. So looking at the front cover, the title of this book is Spring. Wait a minute. I don't see an author or a photographer, but you know where we can look, on the spine of the book. Here I see seasons. I see the title of our book, Spring. And over here, I see the author's name, which is Sion Smith. Let me get really close so you can see those too. Now, if I didn't see it on the spine of the book, I can look here at the title page, Spring, Sion Smith. Must be the author who wrote the text and the photographer who took the pictures. Here's our table of contents. Now, you know, if this was a really big book, we would not read this entire book. We would go to the table of contents, find out what it is we want to know, what facts we're looking for, and find those facts. For instance, what is spring? I can go to page 4. When is spring? Page 6. The weather in spring? Page 8. What can we see in spring? Page 10. Which season comes next? Page 22. There's that picture glossary if you want to go back to it on page 23, and the index on page 24. Since this is such a short book, we're just going to read it. What is spring? There are 4 seasons every year. And look, they gave them to us. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. What season do you think we're in right now? I can immediately cross this one out because I know it is not snowing outside. When I'm looking outside, I don't see these color leaves anymore. Crossing that one out. So I have spring and summer. When it's summer, it is really hot. It's not really hot right now. Must be spring. Spring is one of the 4 seasons. Look at those gorgeous flowers. Reminds me of that rainbow book we read. The 4 seasons follow a pattern. Oh, there's that pattern vocabulary word. So we're in spring. So next would come summer. After summer, when you are in the next grade, first grade, there's your fall. After fall is winter. After winter is spring. Oh, and it just keeps going around and around. That's a pattern. Spring comes after winter. Now, winter, it was really cold. And outside, it's still a little chilly, but it's definitely getting warmer. A sign of spring. The weather in spring. It can be warm in spring. Yesterday was pretty warm. It can rain in spring. Why would it rain so much in spring? Can you think of a reason? All of those plants are trying to get water so that they can grow from not being alive or maybe not growing very much in winter. In spring, we can see people in raincoats. In spring, we can see people in boots. Give me a thumbs up if you love to jump in mud puddles. I have seen many of you do it. In spring, we can see people in gardens. I see a label. The seed. In spring, we can see buds. Hey, there's a vocabulary word too. And it's pointing to the bud. Looks like it's the beginning of a flower. In spring, we can see blossoms. Hello, vocabulary word. Look at that tree, full of flowers. Blossoms. In spring, we can see flowers. Tulips. I love tulips. My very favorite flower. In spring, we can see new plants starting to grow. Do you see them? They're just little bitty above the soil. They must have used a really big lens to get really close to that. In spring, we can see new leaves starting to grow. In spring, we can see eggs in nests. If you ever see an egg in a nest, don't touch it. The mother bird will know you've been there and she'll leave them alone because she'll be afraid you'll be coming back. So if you see eggs, don't bother them. In spring, we can see chicks in nests. Look at those cute little baby chicks. In spring, we can see baby animals. In spring, we can see hedgehogs waking up. They must have been asleep during the winter. What's that called? Do you remember what it's called? Hibernation or torpor. Hibernation means they slept the entire winter. Torpor means they slept, they woke up a little bit and ate and slept again. Kind of like bears, remember? What season comes next? Which season comes after spring? If you know, write me back. Let me know. What comes next after spring? Here's that picture glossary. And the very last page was an index. So if you wanted to learn about animals in spring, you would turn to page 20. If you wanted to see those words, the vocabulary word blossom, you go to page 14 or 23. A bud, 13 or 23. Pattern is mentioned on page 6 and page 23. Season, they talk about seasons on page 4 and 5. Seed, page 12 and page 23. And year, page 4. Okay, here's your job for today. I need you to go out and find some signs of spring. Write about them. I like spring. How do you spell spring? Oh, gave you a cheat. I like to run in spring. I like to jump in spring. I like to go outside in spring. Write some sentences today about spring. Now, as you are outside looking to see if you see signs of spring, I need you to look for blossoms. I need you to look for flowers. What are some other signs of spring? We said new plants starting to grow. New leaves starting to grow. Is it getting a little warmer outside? Look and see if you see any eggs. Don't touch them though. Listen to see if you hear any baby birds or if you hear birds. Listen for signs of spring as you go outside today. Okay, enjoy your day and write me. Tell me your sentences you wrote and tell me what signs of spring you found today. Okay, have a good day.